Oye, te habla tío Sabio Vega. This is Sabio Vega, and you watching True Heel Hit a mi manera o pa la calle.
This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero. And if you're looking for some true heel heat, you better listen to them boys.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for our New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax 32 Finals Roundtable Review. It is finally done. It is finally over. After more than a month of action, I think it was about 81 different matches throughout the past month, starting on July 16th. We are now on August 18th. Well, on August 19th. It ended on August 18th, but a full month of action from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the best professional wrestlers that NJPW have to offer. We have finally come to the close of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. We are here to discuss the final 3 nights from August 16th, 17th, and 18th with the finals. I am here with the master of ceremonies when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, also on patreon.com/True Hill Heat, where he's been reviewing every single night of the action along with me. He is the good brother, J-News.
Literally, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your good brother J-News here with my tag team partner, the best tag team in the business, me and SP3 representing True Heel Heat. Yeah, it's over. It's over. It is over. A month's worth of wrestling broken up. 3 in a row, day off. 2 in a row, day off. 3 in a row. New Japan, you guys know how to schedule these shows. It's just ridiculous. God damn it. But anyways, fantastic G1 tournament by all stretches of the imagination. I think everybody did, more or less everybody did their best. And obviously we know who the standouts were. We will discuss who our MVP of the tournament is by the end of this particular show. Also, obviously, LVPs and guys who stood out, people we should be looking out for in the future. But you know, we're here to discuss this last week's worth of action. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the finals, so that you guys can get all caught up and listen to us rant about what happened and what went down and what we liked and what we disliked, and chime in while we're doing that at the same time, because that's what we're all about. It's all about the communication and the interaction here on True Heel Heat.
Absolutely. We want to hear from all of you. Thank you if you are joining us live. Thank you if you are watching us on demand here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. We appreciate all of y'all. So show your appreciation back by dropping the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We will be discussing, like I said before, the final 3 nights of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. Like J-News said at the end, we're going to discuss the tournament overall, who elevated themselves, who was the MVP of the entire tournament, who was the LVP of the entire tournament, what stories or matches we are looking forward to coming out of the G1, and as we go into the biggest show of the year, Wrestle Kingdom 17, now one night only, J-News, on January 4th, 2023. What do you think about, first, before we get into any of the action from the final 3 nights, what do you think about the announcement that we are going back to one night of Wrestle Kingdom?
Yeah, I mean, it creates less work for everybody at the end of the day, right? Because sometimes, depending as to whatever the finances are, in the back office and stuff like that, how much extra money they have to put into the second night, and then still having to run New Year's Dash, and then depending if they're gonna do Fantastica Mania a week later or whatever the case is, depends on where the budget is. So that was my train of thought when I heard the news come down. Not necessarily about getting matches put together, because obviously you can put matches together. It's not a big deal. It's just booking in that regard. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. They just have to put their best matches on that one night. No filler matches, no tag, no 8-man tags, none of that bullshit. The filler match at Wrestle Kingdom is the Rambo. Do the Rambo, get everybody else in there during the Rambo, and then the rest of the night should just be your mainline matches that you have set up with all the stories from the year of 2022, culminating at the beginning of 2023, right there at Wrestle Kingdom 17. That's the way it should be.
Only makes sense that way, honestly, when you really think about it. But like I said, let's get into the action for the first 2 nights. I will more or less kind of run through everything. I'm going to give you a star rating, like I did over on patreon.com/True Heat for each of these matches. But I'll run through it pretty fast, as I know J-News really wants to talk about the finals and the semifinal matches and what he thought about those. So the final block night was on August 16th, this past Tuesday, from Tokyo, Japan, at the Nippon Budokan. They they had 3,227 in attendance, and these were all the final block matches. So you had D block, C block, B block, and A block in that order with these matches. Of course, one last thing to, of course, tell everyone watching: remember to drop a comment in the live chat. We want to hear from all of you. Like J-News said, this is interactive. Super chat donations are greatly appreciated. It helps out the channel so much, helps out all the contributors, helps the channel grow, and helps us to do more live streams like this, especially when we're talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. We got Pastor Cody Mitchell here with us saying Okada, and that coming from someone who thought he was, and for a moment wanted Ospreay to win, but Okada always proves he's above. Ospreay may be his successor, but not yet. So kind of talking about that final match that we have in the thumbnail here. We got John Elite saying disappointed Wrestle Kingdom and Mania and have now traded nights, with Mania now 2 nights and Wrestle Kingdom now at 1. I think it was the best decision following this past year where, like you said, J-News, a lot of filler matches were on the card, where I remember the most from this past year's Wrestle Kingdom 16, only the final 3 matches of each night really mattered.
Yeah, by majority, man. I just, for what it is, and how we understand New Japan to construct their shows, right? Especially on the road and stuff like that. Especially now watching the G1, right? If this is everyone's first introduction into New Japan and whatnot, this is how New Japan structures their shows. You have a bunch of tag matches to begin the night, and then you have whatever your mainstream matches are, depending on whatever the label of that tour is, right? It could be a G1, it could be a World Tag League, it can be a Dominion, or whatever the case is. Whatever tour leads up to them. The tag matches, to me, like I've said before, I say this in previous shows, I just think that they're just super filler. A lot of the time, I know that they can tend to advance storylines, which is fine, due to touring schedules. But it's like I just feel like they're just getting guys in the ring so they can get paid at the end of the day. So it is what it is. Guys have to work, and I get all that, but like a lot of the time, a lot of that stuff isn't important. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Pastor Cody saying I actually thought I got a slight spoiler. I thought Tama won, and I like him, but I think that enhanced the match for me. He'll definitely be someone to watch out for next year, but he's not there yet. And then we got John Jay who says, "Hey guys, not necessarily your MVP of the tournament, but who do you think gained the most for being involved this year? For me, it was Jonah. Definitely, Jonah was a standout, and we'll definitely be answering that question once we're done recapping these final 3 nights. We'll give you the MVP, LVP, who was elevated and gained the most from the tournament, and who stock may have dropped during the tournament as well. We'll get into all of that. But let's start off with Tuesday night. Like I said, the final block night, you had D block action to kick off the show, J-News, as it was the former IWGP United States champion Juice Robinson of the Bullet Club versus the current IWGP United States champion Will Ospreay. Ospreay was attacked by Juice over the weekend, setting up this match with a power driver on the ramp that hurt the neck, the previously injured neck of Will Ospreay. So he came into these final 3 nights banged up, but he came for revenge early on when Juice made his entrance. He attacked him from behind. There was a lot of hard-hitting stuff. Juice with another power driver on the ramp, but Ospreay getting back into the ring in time. And in the end, I thought that Juice had this one, honestly. I thought that Juice was going to gain the victory, set up an IWGP United States Championship match for later this year, but nope. Ospreay would not be denied, and with a hidden blade, got the victory in 11 minutes and 7 seconds. I thought this was a 4-star opener. Really, really good matchup to start off the night. Some really good wrestling from these two guys overall. And with Juice Robinson's kind of whole G1 over after this matchup, what did you think of Juice in the G1 this year?
Man, he was a gimmick during the G1 at the end of the day. They used him to try to at least advance the storyline between him and Will Ospreay, right? Trying to fight over the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship and whatnot. Obviously, he had it to begin the tournament in possession. Then David Finlay took it from him in possession. Then David Finlay, after he, I believe Finlay beat Will Ospreay, if I'm not mistaken.
Finlay. When we talk about guys who elevated their style in the G1, Finlay's not on this night because he finished up his tournament against Yoshihashi, losing to Yoshihashi, and that was a victory that, you know, for Yoshihashi that cost Finlay to not win the D block here with Will Ospreay winning this matchup. He was in the lead. He just needed a win for ELP in our next matchup. But yeah, I mean, Finlay, 3 straight of the biggest victories of his career, beating his former partner Juice Robinson, then defeating Will Ospreay, giving him back the IWGP United States Championship, and then beating Shingo Takagi. So he'd be back-to-back IWGP World Champions. But I would say Juice, when, you know, like I said, we're gonna say at the end, who we think stock dropped.
Did he drop?
I think that Juice Robinson's stock dropped, honestly. I expected him to do a lot better coming off the heel turn.
Yeah. He's a clown, man. He's a clown. At the end of the day, it worked for storytelling purposes, which is fine. Obviously, that's what you need that in pro wrestling on any level. So it worked for to that regard. But for him being in any sort of a title picture, like, nah, man, his purpose was to make Will Ospreay feel more important throughout the tournament, trying to get this title back so that Will could defend it. And then eventually when Will beat Juice in this match here, he was able to get his title back so that Will went walking into the finals with both straps, because at the end of the day, he's got to show that he's on par with Okada, at least via entrance, right? So at least they had that going, or whatever the case is. But yeah, he, from a stock standpoint, I think it was just, he's more or less level. It didn't drop for me for Juice. I think that they were just trying to get him into his role, see how he could play the character out, or whatever the case is, all the backhandedness and all that stuff. So, it is what it is.
He had one of my favorite matches of the tournament with him and Finlay, but in my opinion, I think Juice stock dropped because I expected him to do a lot better coming into, with the heel turn and with joining the Bullet Club. So Fair enough. Next, we had the final D block matchup, and this was a must win for Shingo Takagi to keep pace with Will Ospreay, who finished off the block 4-2. Shingo Takagi, with this win, could go up to 4-2 himself, and he has the tiebreaker due to beating Ospreay in one of the best matches of the tournament from night 12, and he was versing the Bullet Club member El Phantasmo. And for El Phantasmo, this was a statement type of matchup because, you know, this is his first introduction into the heavyweight division. He had to end this G1 Climax off with a strong win. He nearly got the win with CR2, getting a very close near fall. He traded a bunch of strikes with Shingo Takagi. This was fast paced at his finest, when you expect from Shingo Takagi, with the reversals, with his feet work, with the way he just gets off these strikes. But in the end, El Phantasmo lands sudden death, and then it looks like he's going for another CR2, but instead turns the CR2 into the CR3 with a power driver, defeating Shingo Takagi in 12 minutes, 12 seconds. I thought this was a notch better than the opener. I gave it 4.25 stars. Great matchup between these two guys, and it seems like out of the final 3 nights, this is one of the newer feuds in New Japan, with El Phantasmo after this matchup saying that he owns Shingo Takagi and that he's Shingo Takagi's daddy. So what do you think about El Phantasmo overall in the G1 Climax, and, you know, his introduction to the heavyweight division after this matchup as well, going by the Japanese commentary table and telling El Desperado, goodbye forever, I'm a heavyweight now?
Oh man, we're talking about stock. Buy now on El Phantasmo. That stock is rising without question. For him to be able to beat Shingo Takagi here on his last night of the tournament and beat him in the fashion that he did was good. Was good, man. He ended up even. He'll be back next year. We'll see what he can do. We'll probably get him challenging for the King of Pro Wrestling trophy in the near future against Shingo. So we'll have to continue that feud. We'll probably see that sometime either now, or we could see that match in Wrestle Kingdom. Who knows? Depending on as to how El Phantasmo wants to play it out character wise. So we'll see how that works. But definitely stock on the rise for LP, man. Good match, really good match. Shingo Takagi yet again. Man, I mean, the man's the definition of excellence at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have a bad match out here. So, it goes to show that these guys know how to tell the story in the ring. You don't need a microphone in your hand all the goddamn time to tell a story. So it is that's what New Japan Pro Wrestling is all about. And big ups to El Phantasmo on his G1, and hopefully bigger and better things going forward for him.
For sure. The third match on the 16th saw the C block action of this night, as it was Hiroki Goto going up against Evil, and this was House of Torture. House of Torture shenanigans at its finest. Dick Togo getting involved in this one. We got a low blow from Evil, and then everything is evil on Goto to gain the victory and eliminate Goto from contention in the C block. He finished the block 3-3, while Evil matches him at 3-3 as well. I mean, the less said about this, the better. I think Goto had a good tournament, though. I think his matchup with Zack Sabre Jr. was one of the better matches of this tournament. And his match with Tanahashi was great.
His match with Tana was pretty good too, man. Look, man, Goto came into this tournament trying to put the G back in G1, trying to do it for the kids and everything else in between, and he fell short. But the story was there. It was trying to see if Goto still had it. He still has it, and he was able to compete at a high level. On top of everything else, just looking at this, more of the usual House of Torture shenanigans, which I must say I have grown tired of at this point.
I'm over it. I'm over it. You notice I didn't say a star rating because I was trying to be generous, but the most generous I can do for this matchup is 1.5 stars. Like
Yeah.
I'm just over it. The match that had House of Torture nonsense that I was okay with was Tanahashi versus Evil, because Tanahashi overcame the
Sure.
House of Torture nonsense, and he's the consummate good guy. So he made a good foil for Evil, but I'm over it.
Yeah.
Fourth match on the card was probably the most surprising J-News,
I
as
would
it
say
was the
so.
final, the C block final, because the winner of this matchup would win the C block after Goto was eliminated, Kenta eliminating Tanahashi a few days prior to this. So you had Tetsuya Naito, who started off the tournament 0-2, versus his kryptonite, basically, Zack Sabre Jr., the man that eliminated him in his first match of the G1 Climax 31, basically injuring him, and Naito had to forfeit the rest of the tournament. So we go full circle in the C block final. Naito playing the couple of games at the early on, but once they got going, this was fast paced, and literally commentary spoiled what was going to happen. I was like, the pace they're going at, they're not going to go long with this one. And literally 1 minute 58 seconds later, Naito cradles up Zack Sabre Jr., arm tied behind his back, pinfall to get the win and to move on to the semifinals. Tetsuya Naito getting the win in under 2 freaking minutes. I was in shock after this one, but the only person in more shock than me was Zack Sabre Jr., who went full on mental. He was pissed beyond belief following this matchup. I can't even rate this because it was too short
Yeah, it
to
was too
rate.
short.
But what do you think about this result and
I'm
furthering this whole Naito Zack Sabre Jr. feud?
I'm with you here on the length of the match, because I didn't necessarily expect that, because it is Naito and Zack Sabre Jr. So I expected, the full on breadth of the styles clashes and everything else in between. But to get a 2-minute match out of them, and I was like, who the hell booked this? Yano? And I was like, what happened here? And I was like, well, okay, the feud continues and stuff like that. They're saving Naito for the match versus Will at this point, so that makes sense. Depending as to how long, what the length of the duration of that match is going to be. But for Zachy to go full mental, as you said, after the match, it just gives him more depth and character and stuff like that. So, more to come at the end of the day, right? Tetsuya Naito is one of the wrestlers that that Okada mentioned that he's going to give an opportunity to before Wrestle Kingdom. For whatever reason, to defend the G1 championship and all that stuff. So we'll see how he does there. But hopefully we get a true one-on-one matchup with good length of time between Zack Sabre Jr. and Tetsuya Naito. In this case, this is where I wish the IWGP Intercontinental Championship still existed. But, we are where we are right now.
It's a different that we are living in nowadays, with no IWGP Intercontinental Championship. The United States Championship has kind of filled in that spot, I will say, though. It's kind of filled in the
Sort of.
spot as the secondary championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But what a sight it was post-match, after the match, with Zack Sabre Jr. pissed off, running chairs into ring posts, putting chairs around his neck, and Naito just reeling him in, reeling him on. I was laughing hysterically at all of this. It would play into the final night of this 3-block set as well, but we'll get into that as we finish down the stretch of night 18 with the final block action. After that matchup was intermission. Then we had the 5th match on the docket. This one was basically just for respect, as it was Tomohiro Ishii versus Sonata, two of your favorites here, and two guys that I would say in a lot of people's eyes, had a disappointing G1, especially
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Tomohiro Ishii, who came into this night 1-4. These two men I thought would be at the top, fighting with Switchblade Jay White in the B block, but that wasn't meant to be. And these guys went out here and didn't hold anything back. They had a very competitive matchup, great reversals down the stretch, great pacing to this bout. So then you got the hard hitting style of Tomohiro Ishii, and you got the technical wrestling of Sonata. In the end, the overpowering power and stiff strikes of Ishii, one out. He hit the big old lariat, followed up by the vertical drop Bane Buster to get the win in 12 minutes, 35 seconds. Another 4-star matchup on this night. And this was a matchup that had nothing on the stakes
yeah.
except for
Nothing.
pride, and
Mhm.
commentary played it up very well, talking about if Ishii didn't get this victory, it kind of was a done deal for him in the G1, because this would be, very disappointing for him. And even talking about it might be his final G1 win or loss going into this one. What did you think about Ishii's overall G1? And of course, your boy Sonata, who you
Yeah.
said was going to make the
Amen.
semifinals.
Amen.
What did you think?
Hey, listen. I'm wrong all the time. I accept that. I'm a human being. It's all good in my hood. But I'll tell you this. I was completely disappointed with Ishii's tournament. I didn't know it was going to go the way that it went. I think the night before this, Kevin Kelly was alluding to like retirement for Ishii for some reason. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about, man? This man's on the biggest freaking role of his career that he's ever been on. He's been on US TV, God knows how many times this year. Like, people love him. And then they only have him win in completion 2 matches out of his entire G1, which I thought was ridiculous. Obviously solid, like you said, 4-star quality match here with my main man Sonata. And like you said, it was a respect match at the end of the day. These are 2 dudes that could be at the top of whatever block that they're in, but obviously it wasn't booked that way. That story didn't lead that way. And they just put on a banger of a match for the fans to enjoy. Luckily, Ishii won out, got his second win in the tournament. Sonata ended up even 3-3 in that regard. But they were trying to tell a different story in the B block, which was not to say that it was the better story, but it was a good story nonetheless to tell. Where we end up, as we will discuss in about a couple of minutes.
I would say B Block had one of the more interesting, stories overall for Ishii. He had one of the best matches of the tournament with Switchblade Jay White from night 4. I was just disappointed in Sonata, and honestly, I don't know if it's because I talked to you and you raise up my perception of Sonata. So thus, when he gives us performances like he did in this tournament, I'm a little disappointed. But I would say he's one of the guys that I would say his stock is kind of down after this,
I can't disagree with you that the stock it seems sort of down just because of the way that they booked it, and they didn't really mark any sort of a level of importance on him, right? So it was like, okay, last year or during the pandemic, they put him in the heavyweight championship scene, right? And I was like, oh, they're ready to take off with him, and then now it's like, well, here he goes back down the line again, and it's like, all right, so what are we doing? Because Naito's still up there, right? They're tracking with Zach at this point, and it's like, well, Ishii was always mid-card level to, he was the guy that they used to lift everybody up in these hard-hitting traditional strong style matches and things of that nature. Obviously Takagi's up there with Will Ospreay and Okada, but it's like I would have figured that guys like Sonata and Kenta, another one of the guys that let me the hell down, or whatever the cases would have been.
I will say though, Kenta's tournament long storyline of being more concerned with selling his book was at least entertaining. Was at least entertaining to get the laughs, and he started off the tournament horribly to finish off 3-3. So Kenta, I will say, he started slow, but he picked up in the back half, and especially his matches with Naito and Tanahashi were both great. I can't say that Sonata had any of the matches in this tournament that I would call great, except for this one against Tomohiro Ishii. So It's kind of, that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
more like, it's not always the record. Even if you could go 0-5, if you can have 2 or 3 great
Yeah.
matches during the tournament, I don't think your stock is down really.
Right.
Like Honma did that a couple of years back in 2015, where he basically did not win much in the G1 except for a victory over Tomohiro Ishii, but he had great matches throughout. And it just like with Sonata, even when he had a low record back in like 2019, he had that classic with Okada that went like 29 minutes 40 something seconds, and one that was 5 stars. Then in 2020 he makes it to the finals against Kota Ibushi. He's had the feud with Evil that kept him at the upper mid card. This kind of seems, this G1 throughout it kind of seems like his stock is down in that way. But
Can't disagree.
they finished off the B block. The B block finals was J-News, the Switchblade Jay White, undefeated coming into the final night of block action, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion versus his former Bullet Club member, one of the original 4, the core 4 of the Bullet Club, the man he injected, the man he booted from the Bullet Club, Tama Tonga, who, I mean, spoiler alert, he's one of the guys who elevated himself in this G1.
Sure.
Even before this night, coming into the final night at 4-1 was just impressive on his own. But he had a great match with Tomohiro Ishii himself as well. But these two guys had a very strong matchup here. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Nice reversals. They just played off of each other very, very well. And you got the animosity between these two men, and the story was probably the strongest of this final night outside of the main event. It went nearly 14 minutes, 13 minutes, 56 seconds. And in one of the biggest upsets of the G1, I would say the second biggest upset behind Jonah beating Kazuchika Okada, was Tama Tonga. After numerous attempts, which seems to be a theme of his matches, numerous attempts at the gun stun, he reverses the Blade Runner into the gun stun. 1, 2, 3. Tama Tonga has pinned the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and makes it to the semifinals of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. Wow, I was stunned by this, and so was the crowd by this result here. What did you think, and what did you think overall of Tama Tonga's tournament?
I mean, to your point, I think Tama did the damn thing. You know, he showed improved. He came out of this tournament, you know, basically wanting to show people that he can be a single star and that his wrestling ability is good enough for him to get on to the next level. And he showed that. This win over Jay White, as we know how New Japan Pro Wrestling works, and if you don't know, I'll let you know. Him beating Jay White means he's going to get a title shot, folks, somewhere down the line. Tama Tonga will be in that ring getting that title shot for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. As to when it's going to happen, probably sometime before Wrestle Kingdom, and we'll see it go down. And Jay White will get his revenge and his win on that end, because obviously that's where we're gonna head to in Wrestle Kingdom 17. There'll be another Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada match. That's the way that I see it, at least. So terrific G1 tournament for Tama Tonga. Our fearless leader takes the L here. He overdid it, man. He overdid it. It was too much hubris. He thought he was on top of the game, and he just did not. He underestimated Tama Tonga, the OG. He underestimated him, and the gun stun played its role as it was given to him by the machine gun, and boom, he gets the win. I was surprised at the win, but well deserved for Tama Tonga. This is the rub. This was the moment. This was the rub that he needed in order to get into that next level in stratosphere in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Big ups to Tama Tonga with his win here.
I was purely stunned, ladies and gentlemen, by this result. I'm not gonna lie to anybody here. It was just like, damn. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? My fearless leader, the Switchblade, lost to Tama Tonga. But yeah, it seems to set up an IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match that was further solidified on the final night of this 3-block set. But let's finish up with the final night of block action from Tuesday as they finished off with the A block. First up on the A block, you had Jonah, one of the standouts from this monster block, versus another monster of the Bullet Club, Bad Luck Fale. This was your typical big men, big meaty men, slapping meat type of matchup, using their size and their girth to get the better of one another. But it was Jonah overcoming Bad Luck Fale, hitting that goddamn torpedo off the top rope, down, crashing down onto Bad Luck Fale, getting the victory here in 9 minutes, 13 seconds. One of Bad Luck Fale's better matchups of the tournament. And when I say that, I mean it was 3 stars. So yeah, that tells you the quality of Bad Luck Fale's tournament here. But Jonah, he was still confident that he could win the A block, even though commentary didn't want to tell him that he was already mathematically eliminated at this point. But what about Jonah? We haven't got the opportunity to talk about that huge victory over Kazuchika Okada from night 13. In my eye, the biggest upset of not just this tournament, of the entire year in professional wrestling.
Without question. I wasn't expecting that at all. When the result came down, and I said to myself, wait a minute, does that say Jonah? Jonah beat Kazuchika Okada? That can't be right. Now, they messed up, right? That's what I said. Then I went and I watched the match. And I said, oh, man, he actually hit the big torpedo splash on his ass, and he got the pin. So then I said to myself, okay, so giving him the Okada rub during the G1, it elevates him at this point, right? So his stock is rising. But then there's the rumors that come about when it comes to Jonah, right? All the stuff, the speculations coming all about. Where is he going? Is he staying? Is he leaving? I don't know what's happening with Jonah right now. But at the end of the day, good G1 tournament for Jonah. Bad Luck Fale, yet again, filling in a roster spot at the G1 because that's what he does. And doing his usual bits and pieces there. But yeah, great tournament for Jonah, showing out and doing his thing. And definitely the biggest upset of the year of any match that I've seen so far, in any wrestling company, to be honest. So
and I'm gonna say this one time here on the channel, one more time here on the channel. I said it on other platforms. I'll say it one more time here on the channel. Stop with this nonsense of wanting Bronson Reed back into WWE because the man that we saw in this tournament is not no goddamn Bronson Reed. No. That putty paper monster that Triple H presented in NXT. This is the best booking of Jonah's career. He only lost 2 matches, both by countout. This man hasn't been pinned or submitted in Japan, in New Japan proper. Like, no, we need him full time here. I want TM, DK, bring Shane, bring Mikey, bring the whole gang, make him, establish him with his whole group in the New Japan, lexicon. We got the United Empire, which freshens things up, but we need more stables, more new stables. And I think Jonah and TMDK, based on Jonah's output in this G1, have earned their spot. Not only that matchup against Okada, but the big, beefy man slapping meat matchup with Jeff Cobb was another standout of this tournament as well. I need more Jonah in NJPW.
I agree with you, brother. I agree with you. I'm with you. I would rather Jonah be a New Japan boy than go back to the WWE. But money talks and bullshit walks. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll see how
to be fair, money does talk, but I don't want him to go back, and I don't think anybody should want him to go back if you watched him in this G1. But yes, finally, A block action concluded with the main event. Kazuchika Okada versus AEW and Suzuki Gun's own Lance Archer. This was a matchup I did not expect to be the 8-block final, honestly, but here we are, and Lance Archer looked like a man possessed. He looked like a man that went out there to make a point, starting off the matchup with his hoodie on, standing in the center ring, not even moving during Okada's entrance. And then immediately when the bell rings, he hits a choke slam on Okada. Then he picks him up, hits a second choke slam on Okada. The crowd is like, whoa. You could hear the roar of the crowd, even though they're only supposed to be a clapping crowd. And the selling of Okada really took this home in this matchup because he sold this beating and went on to sell the beating as well on the semifinals and in the finals from Lance Archer. So Lance Archer made a significant impact and dominated this A-block final against Kazuchika Okada, but it's Okada. It's Goat Kata. So
Yeah.
Goat Kata did Goat Kata things. He hit the landslide, finally hit that one big old rainmaker, even after Archer hit a rainmaker of his own, which was probably more vicious than Okada's rainmaker. But when the master of the move hits it, you know it's a 1, 2, 3. Getting the victory here. A great closeout of block action. I gave this one 4 stars. What did you think overall of Lance Archer in the G1? I think that he made a very impressive showing for himself. And New Japan kind of outclassed AEW when it came to the booking of the Murder Hawk Monster.
Okay, so as a fan of most wrestling companies, you have to be fair when it comes to how things get booked and how people get presented. New Japan Pro Wrestling seems to have the edge on AEW on how to present and book Lance Archer. That's just the way it is right now. That's the God's honest truth. So for what Lance Archer did, we've been talking about whose stock is rising, whose stock is down. If Lance Archer decides to stay in New Japan Pro Wrestling, his stock's on the rise at the end of the day. That this tournament, what he was able to do, even with the comedic shit that he did to start the tournament, putting this match together with Okada, the match he had with Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb. The match he had with Jeff Cobb. Even the match that he had with Bad Luck Fale was something that I was like, oh, wait a minute, what is this? Even though it ended up in count out and all that stuff or whatever, he's the monster that is the athlete of the bunch. So, of the bigger and the taller sets guys, he's the athlete of the bunch. And he was able to put together better matches just in a work rate sense, standpoint. And plus his character plays up, right? He does all the shenanigans, beating up the freaking young boys at the beginning of the match and everything else in between. So, he does play up his character very well. In that regard, if there were young boys at AEW, people would take him more seriously because then he could just beat the crap out of everybody before he gets to start a match. But, it just for how wrestling as a whole within its history how they booked these monster type wrestlers and whatnot, it just doesn't play for what it is that Tony Khan does in AEW.
True.
So at the end of the day, it's like, well, Lance Archer's going to beat all these miniature guys every damn time. If we're gonna book the way that monsters are always going to be booked, he beats everybody all the time. But in our regard, it's AEW. We love the Kenny Omegas, the CM Punks, and the Hangman Adam Pages, and all that stuff, or whatever the case is. So, he's better suited to be a New Japan Pro Wrestling guy. And if they want to put him in the main event scene, they can. At the end of the day, they need the Guy Gene strength in that regard, because they have Will Ospreay, but he's a Brit. Right, they have Jay White, but he's from New Zealand, even though he's a Florida resident and everything else in between. They need some American beef in there. So Lance is definitely somebody who can do some good work for New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially since he's a part of Suzuki-gun. So that makes all the difference. So I agree. Ace Archer should stay in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I agree with Ace as well. We also got John J who says in AEW, Lance Archer is their version of Big Show. Seems to flip flop between face and heel every match he has. So nice to see him booked so much better here. Yeah,
Mm.
and even in the G1, he kind of played a baby
Yeah,
face at times
yeah.
and he played a heel at times. So he still had that flip flopping, but he was presented as a monster each time. And I think that's where AEW misses the mark on there. But overall, before we get into the semifinal night as well as the final night, what did you think? What did you think? More positive or negatives when it comes to the 4 block format of this year?
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad. I knew that expanding the field was going to be tricky. Now, for it to just be New Japan proper guys by majority, I would like it to be more of a collaborative effort via the other wrestling companies. It doesn't have to just be AEW. It can be MLW guys. It can be Impact guys. It can be guys from Noah for all I care at the end of the day. But have more of an integration since it is the biggest wrestling tournament of the year. Make it feel that way, right? So if we're gonna keep the field of 28, I don't see it as a bad thing, especially with the storyline that we had going on in D Block, where there could have been a 7-way tie. If Will Ospreay would have lost his match to freaking Juice Robinson, and being that El Phantasmo won his match, how that would have turned out and stuff like that. So they have a lot of things to play with in that regard. So I like this. I like the 4-block setup with the 7 participants in each. Just have a bigger mix of your, if you want to call them higher caliber wrestlers from respective promotions in there. Then do that and go forward from there.
I can feel you on that one. And Chase Oliver adding, I am making my list of what matches to watch from the G1 that I missed. Thanks for breaking this down, guys. You welcome for sure. And if you are a Patreon backer, I'm gonna have my list of the top 10 best matches from the G1 Climax 32 tournament. And later today, what I'll do is I'll put a community tab poll up and see if you guys want me to drop that on the channel as well, because I'll make it available for the Patreon backers first, so they get first look at it. But I'll put the whole poll up for our subscribers if they want me to put up the video on the YouTube channel itself as well. But let's get into the semifinals from August 17th, Wednesday, from Tokyo, Japan, at the Nippon Budokan, 3,179 in attendance, so just below what they did on Tuesday night. So the first match of this night was it was a lot of preliminary tag team matches before we got into the semi-main event and main event with the semifinals. So I'll run through these matches. You know me, I'm only going to give a star rating to actual G1 matches, so I'll kind of run through these. The first matchup was an 8-man tag. You had Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Goto of Chaos versus Taka Michinoku, Dookie, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Lance Archer, Suzuki-gun. It was the Chaos team getting the victory with direct drive by Yo on Taka Michinoku. Next up was tag team action, as it was the Team Filthy duo of Royce Isaacs and Tom Lawler versus Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., continuing this little rivalry that developed over the G1 Climax in these tag team preliminary matchups, J-News, of Tom Lawler and Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. getting the win over Royce Isaacs with the arm lock cross hold in 8 minutes 54 seconds. Or do you think we're going to see Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tom Lawler on like a New Japan Strong in America?
Probably. Yeah. We'll probably see that match on New Japan Strong, maybe even on New Japan proper on the Japanese side. Now that Tom Lawler seems to be over with the Japanese crowd, to be honest. Look, man, I keep on saying this. Yeah, right.
They love that rhythmic clap.
I keep saying this, and I will say it till the cows come home. I am not a Tom Lawler fan. I am just not. But at the end of the day, the man got over with that crowd. That was his job during this tournament. He played it up. He did well. And now he's where he's at, right? and Team Filthy seems to be on the rise. And props to Tom Lawler for that. So we might just see this match on a regular New Japan show. I don't know what's necessarily left for the year from a tour perspective, because I know that we still got tag league still to come this year. The Super J Cup is still to come this year. Of the other shows, I'm not sure what's left, so we'll see how it plays out.
I think Super Junior Tag, and I think September they have Burning Spirit, which is basically going to be like I don't know if they're doing King of Pro Wrestling and Power Struggle, but those are usually the bigger shows that close off the year for New Japan, but outside of the tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. I understand.
We shall see. But the third match on the card was another tag team matchup as Tokiyaki Honma and Toge Maccabee versus Jonah and Bad Dude Tito of TMDK. Of course, Jonah getting the win in this one for his team in 8 minutes 31 seconds with a lariat on Honma. The fourth match on the card was a 6-man tag team matchup as United Empires, Aaron Hanare, Great O'Khan, and Jeff Cobb versus the Bullet Club's Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Juice Robinson, with Chase getting the win for the Bullet Club team with the package power driver in 6 minutes 47 seconds, further establishing that the Bullet Club won another opportunity at the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Fifth match on the card was an 8-man tag team matchup. Los Ingonables de Japón, Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Sanada, and Shingo Takagi versus the Bullet Clubs, El Phantasmo, Yujiro Takahashi, Kenta, and Evil. So House of Torture meets the Bullet Club in that foursome, and they got the win in this one with Kenta tapping out Bushi with game over. But this was really about the further development of the feud between Shingo Takagi and El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo once again saying that he owns Shingo Takagi, and the Bullet Club and House of Torture getting the victory in this one. 6th match on the card, you had the Hontai foursome of Kushida, David Finlay, Chaos's Toriano, and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Bullet Club's Taiji Ishimori, Doc Gallows, the Machine Gun, Carl Anderson, and Switchblade Jay White. In 9 minutes 8 seconds, it was Toriano getting the pinfall victory once again over Doc Gallows. I don't know why Doc Gallows enjoys facing Yano this much. It's kind of weird, but I kind of get it.
It's comedy. It's comedy at the end of the day. They just like doing stupid shit.
He loves the comedy. 9 minutes 8 seconds for this one. Hontai Chaos getting the victory here, and then we got into the semifinals. The semi-main event was the A block winner of Kazuchika Okada versus the B block winner of Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga getting the big win over Kazuchika Okada, his lone loss in the G1 Climax 31 tournament. And now here they verse in the semifinals. And this was once again Tama Tonga. He is a great underdog babyface. I never knew he had this in him. Like, he's versing one of the greatest, one of the best wrestlers in the world in Kazuchika Okada, and he just played a fantastic underdog babyface that at times this Tokyo crowd, this Budokan crowd, was behind Tama Tonga, going back and forth. Tama kept looking for the gun stun. Of course, Okada would reverse. One time, he reversed the Rainmaker into the gun stun, but the work and the the damage that Tama Tonga had taken from Okada throughout this matchup stopped him from getting the pinfall in this one. But eventually everyone goes down to the Rainmaker, and it was the Cobra Flosion into the Rainmaker, that Inoki type of finishing sequence that he's been hitting, the Insecurity into the Cobra Flosion into the Rainmaker, got the victory, and Okada moves on to the finals the following night. Really, really good matchup here. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. And Tama Tonga, man, I gotta hand it to him. Like, I didn't know he could be this good a underdog babyface, but he's really impressed me since departing from the Bullet Club. But Okada getting the victory here. Any thoughts on this matchup?
Nah, man, I made another good showing by Tama Tonga, man. You know, just trying to put his name out there, trying to get his name on the rise and raise that stock price up to see as to where we could see him in the future. Okada, like you said, putting together some new decent offense with the the Inoki tribute, the fusion, that's what it's called, whatever that move is.
The Cobra Flosion. That's
The Cobra
it. That's
Flosion.
what Kevin Kelly
Yeah.
said it on commentary.
The Cobra Flosion into because there was the first time I saw it yesterday when I was watching the main event, and I was like, he's doing this Seguri's now since when? I was like, okay, this works, and I enjoyed it because I feel like sometimes, and this might be a hot take, but this is how I feel. Okay, sometimes Okada wrestles to the whole 5 moves of doom shit, and it gets to me, So it's like, dude, you have not to say that dudes have to do like super over the top maneuvers in a match, but it's like when you're wrestling, you like to see more than just kick, punch, DDT into this, and it's like, word, we're still going with this shit. Like, can we get something a little different? Like when he was filling his matches with those damn money clips, I was like, rest holds? What is this, 1962? And I was like, come on, man.
And now he does a better job of flowing into the money clip. Like he he even did the money clip in this one to kind of it is a good tease for a submission finish now that he spent a full year not doing the Rainmaker and only doing the money clip during the pandemic. Now it's seen as a realistic finish to the matchup, and it was in the A block with the couple of those big men, and Toriano, he beat Toriano with the money clip. Bad luck Fale, so it is a believable finish.
Yeah, it's a believable finish. Big ups to Toriano on that match with Okada, because he basically almost pulled out all the stops and he got real violent with him. So, he gave Okada the run for his money there.
He brought out the old Toriano. He just didn't come out with the blonde hair and the blonde eyebrows. That was the only step he wasn't willing to go. He was like, that's too long to take out that hair dye, I guess. And then we had the match that everybody was hyped for once the block action was done, and we realized that for the first time ever, it's crazy. You would think with New Japan and the kind of oftenness of their tournament, you would be shocked that this is the first time ever Tetsuya Naito, the winner of the C block, went one-on-one with Will Ospreay, the winner of the D block, and I was ready for this one, and it did not disappoint. J-News. These two men came out, hit a brisk pace. You had Naito kind of being his regular Naito stuff with the cockiness. Will Ospreay with some stiff strikes, but Will Ospreay came in with the big bullseye on him with the injury to his neck, and Naito attacked that. He had like submissions, head scissors, elbows to the neck. At one point, Ospreay hit the hidden blade. He went for the Stormbreaker, but Naito reversed it into Destino for a close near fall. This was a thrilling matchup with amazing pacing and great near falls throughout this entire matchup. In the end, though, Ospreay was able to hit a front on hidden blade that I was just like, holy shit, right to the injured eye of Naito for a very, very close near fall, and he did not waste any time, got him immediately up, hits the Stormbreaker, 20 minutes, 23 seconds. Will Ospreay advances to the finals of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. Initially after the match, I gave it the full boat, but I was able to watch it a second time, and I just went it one below. I gave it 4 3/4 stars. This was an amazing bout, a first time ever match that I want to see more of from these two men. They had great chemistry throughout this matchup, and this was a shocker for me because I said it was Naito's year. I was like, and I have said it on social media. I will say it here. I am never picking Naito again because Gato hates this man. Gato hates this man. This was a layup for Naito to win this year. He had the most compelling story of anyone because he wanted to get back to the Tokyo Dome to main event Wrestle Kingdom, win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and do his final roll call that he wasn't able to do when he won the Double Gold Dash in 2020. This felt like Naito's year, and especially because Naito versus Switchblade Jay White hasn't been done, that many times. I think they've only versed maybe 2 or 3 times with Jay White owning a 2-1 record. So it hasn't been done that many times. It would feel like a fresh matchup because we haven't seen it since Wrestle Kingdom in 2020. So I was ready for it. And once again, Gato says, fuck you, Naito, and fuck all your fans. What did you think about Naito coming up short here? And what did you think about the match overall?
I mean, I had said it in my previous video, and I said it cleanly. And I said SP3, Naito ain't winning no goddamn G1. I was like, it ain't happening, fam. It just ain't happening. If you understand the mind of the Booker man, you understand Naito's not winning a damn thing. And this went according to plan. Those United Empire boys, I said it at the beginning of this tournament. One of them boys was going to get in the finals. Will Ospreay was that boy because I picked Jeff Cobb. But Will Ospreay was that.
And I told you that was a bad pick. I was like, ain't no way. I knew for a fact. I knew even if I didn't have him to win, I at least knew Okada was getting to at least the finals. I was like, I got that part of it right. I did get Okada in the finals, but I just thought he would lose to Naito in the finals. I think that would have been a better result. He would have had less complaints about that one.
I feel you, man, but I think we've seen Naito versus Okada 30 times already. And I not to say that they ever have a bad match, because they don't, but like it's basically to my premise when it comes to all New Japan stuff, especially as of recent. Give us new matches, give us new results, give us different entities and different wrestlers making a name for themselves, as they did with the G1. John Jay states here, he says he liked the 4 blocks, but he thinks it would work better if they did 1 block per night rather than having matches from all 4. Think it would help story continuity throughout each night. John Jay, brother, you are definitely right about that. I would have preferred it to be an A block night, a B block night, a C block night, because then, like you said, it would definitely help story continuity and things of that nature. And for the love of God, can we get rid of the tag matches during these tournaments? You can have them in the Road 2 shows. I don't care about the Road 2 shows.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because it makes the shows easier to watch because I skip all those tag matches on those nights. I just go right to the block matches. I was able to get through every single G1 Climax match because they did it in that way. Especially those first few nights where they only had 4 block matches. I was like, I could skip the whole hour and a half and just watch the final hour and a half. That's perfect.
Yeah, man, we like, as wrestling fans, we always joke about how long it is to sit through a Raw, right? Those 3 hours of Raw. It's the same thing with these freaking shows, man. Stop the tag matches, give me the tournament matches, and that's it. If you need to progress story within a given block, then you do promo work, backstage shit, have people do run-ins, whatever. Get creative. Stop giving me the tag matches before the fucking block matches. It is a done over trope. I'm tired of it. Give me the tag matches during the Road 2 shows. There's plenty of those in between the bigger shows. Guys can still work. Guys can still wrestle. You can have them, lick their wounds and heal from injuries and not be so freaking beat up, right? And it'd be all good. Stop giving me the tag matches, goddamn.
Gotta give the tag matches. I'm here for the tag matches. Makes these shows much more digestible because I skip all the tag matches. But The final night of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. Continue with those comments in the live chat, guys. We love to hear from you, what you've been thinking about the G1 Climax 32 tournament overall. We're going to talk about the final night from August 18th, 2022, Thursday from Tokyo, Japan, the Nippon Budokan third straight night. And the third straight night was the most attended because it was the finals, 6,716 in attendance. So nearly double of what they did in both the previous nights combined for this night right here. So you had the first matchup. We'll run through the first 7 matchups before we get to the finals here. But the first matchup, you had Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto of Chaos basically just go out there on a complete rout against House of Torture. Dick Togo, Sho, Yujiro Takahashi, and Evil. The Chaos foursome completely dominated House of Torture here, winning in 7 minutes, 22 seconds. Yo with direct drive on Dick Togo. However, after the match, Sho got some revenge, laying out Yo with one of the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. So it seems like they're doing more Chaos versus House of Torture for the 6-man tag team titles. Thank God AEW has trios titles now, so I don't have to focus on this division. Next, the second match on this card, you had Bad Dude Tito and Jonah of TMDK versus Team Filthy's Royce Isaacs and Tom Lawler. This was a battle of New Japan strong duos, basically, and it was TMDK getting the victory here with Jonah hitting the torpedo in 10 minutes, 31 seconds. Actually, what I thought was a pretty good matchup here. I gave it 3.25 stars. Opening matchup was just 2 stars, but yeah, the 3.25 stars. I thought these guys worked really well with each other, and I like the show of respect between Jonah and Tom Lawler and TMDK and Team Filthy after the matchup here. Like I said, Jonah and TMDK have really, ingrained themselves into New Japan, and like you said before, Tom Lawler has become ridiculously over in Japan. So I think Lawler and Jonah should be get the call back to come for a G1 Climax 33. Sure. Despite your feelings against Tom Lawler, I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. I mean, I respect any man who gets who steps into the ring at the end of the day, but it's just that he just doesn't float my boat as a character and as a wrestler. So it is what it is. We all have our preferences, stuff like that. So
You don't like the taking off of the shorts?
Now that's a Tai Chi thing, man. You see, when you steal from someone, at the end of the day,
he doesn't rip it off. It's not pull.
Whatever,
it's not pull off.
It's the same
it's
thing.
Slide down.
It's the
slide
same
down.
thing.
Slide down
you out
into
here
the
trying to outdo our powerful and loyal emperor? How you out here trying to do that thing? That's not cool, man. It's not cool. Anyways.
Better than the Emperor. Third match on the card, you had the United Empires, Aaron Hanare, Great O'Khan, and Jeff Cobb versus Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Juice Robinson of the Bullet Club. This one went very short, 6 minutes and 1 second, with United Empire getting the victory here as Jeff Cobb caught Juice Robinson coming off the top rope with Tour of the Island to get the victory here for United Empire, as United Empire now have staked their claim for shots at the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. I thought that this was an okay match, 2.5 stars, but very interesting how both Bullet Club and United Empire are staking a claim to verse FTR. When do you think we'll see FTR in New Japan Pro Wrestling?
World Tag League. That's it.
I'm here for it. I mean, if you're not going to give them an AEW World Tag Team title shot, might as well put them in World Tag League for a month. Why not?
Hell yeah,
Why
man.
not?
Might as well. They've been itching. They themselves, FTR as a team, in different interviews, they've been itching to go to Japan, man. They wanna be able to go out there and test their wills. And they're really they are the truest tag team that there is in the business, right? And I don't expect anything but great matches from FTR. I would have liked it. I don't know if it'll come true. It might come true. But if GOD wants to reunite for the World Tag League, I want to see that match go down legit. So that's one that we can definitely look forward to. Obviously, Chase is going to be teaming with Fale, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening. I don't care about that. But
He's like, I'm not here for it. I'm
I
not
don't
here
care
for
about
it. Let's move
I don't
on.
care about that.
Four, Fourth match on the card, you had a six-man tag team matchup. Los Ingobernables de Japón's Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito versus Suzuki Goons, Taishi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Lance Archer. Another short multi-man matchup here, but it was really all about the story centering on Zack Sabre Jr. and Tetsuya Naito coming off of the C block final in that quick victory of Naito, still getting under the skin of Zack Sabre Jr. here, but the Suzuki Gun got the advantage here and double team Bushi in the end. A big choke slam by Lance Archer, and he set up for the Yokozuna elbow from Taishi to get the victory here. This was 3 stars. This was really more about Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito, though. After the match, Zack Sabre Jr. putting Naito in the same submission that injured him last year in the G1 Climax 31 tournament, but Naito still laughing at him after the matchup. I think this kind of pencils this rivalry in for probably like a power struggle or burning spirit, doesn't it?
Sure, I agree. Definitely agree with that.
Next up, tag team action. You had Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi of Los Ingobernables de Japón versus El Fantasmo and Kenta of the Bullet Club. Another short matchup, relatively speaking, 8 minutes, 39 seconds. And it was El Fantasmo once again pinning Shingo Takagi with an inside cradle to get the victory over the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Love the exchanges between Shingo and El Fantasmo, as well as Shingo and Kenta. Even Hiromu and El Fantasmo had some really good exchange, and Hiromu and Kenta in this one. So I gave this one 3.25 stars. Really good tag team matchup, even through the short duration. But El Fantasmo versus Shingo Takagi is another one that feels like it's kind of penciled in, probably King of Pro Wrestling championship matchup at Power Struggle or Burning Spirit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I just wonder what the stipulation is going to be. To be honest, I'm not too sure what they're gearing towards, but we'll see how it goes.
Shall see. And we had another tag team matchup on this card, the 6th match on the card, as it was the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows, and the Machine Gun Carl Anderson, the Impact World Tag Team Champions, versus David Finlay and Hiroshi Tanahashi. This was another good matchup here. 10 minutes, 3 seconds. Yutori Yano got involved in this one, as it looked like the Good Brothers were setting up for the Magic Killer on David Finlay when Toru Yano came down and started doing the cold spray at Doc Gallows, which caused Doc Gallows to run after him to the back. This led to Machine Gun getting a big old super kick from David Finlay, and then Hiroshi Tanahashi hitting the sling blade, followed by high fly flow to pin the never open weight champion. So Hiroshi Tanahashi, commentary put this over big, that Tanahashi has earned himself an opportunity at the never open weight championship. So Machine Gun versus Tanahashi for the never open weight title. Do you think we're going to get a new champion there?
Yeah. I mean, they never keep that belt long on anybody anyways, so it's a hot potato belt of all belts. So Tana will regain the IWG, the never open weight championship, because he's held it before, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll regain that from Machine Gun Carl Anderson, and then Carl can go back to Tennessee and hang out with his hot Asian wife. So
this is true. But we did hear that the Good Brothers are supposed to do more dates in Japan because their deal with Impact Wrestling has expired. I know they're going to work with them through late August, but they got a big Impact World Tag Team Championship matchup against the OGK, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett of Honor No More, which I think Honor No More is going to win those titles. So we might have seen the end. We might see the end coming up of the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling, and then more of them in New Japan, which I'm all right.
The hope is that they're also going to be available for World Tag League. So get some real big name tag teams in World Tag League. and put some onus on the tag team division in all of professional wrestling. So it'll be a destination tournament for people to see the best tag teams around the world. Hopefully we do get the best tag teams in the world participating in World Tag League, and then we'll go from there.
Facts. And then the semi-main event, the 7 match on the card, was another tag team matchup. Music to J-News ears, as it was Kushida teaming up with Tama Tonga versus Taiji Ishimori and the Switchblade Jay White. 9 minutes 30 seconds. Kushida getting a small package roll up on Taiji Ishimori to pin the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. So Kushida has finally earned himself the opportunity at Taiji Ishimori for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. We also had exchanges between Tama Tonga and Switchblade Jay White, with Tama Tonga kind of making his challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So I do like with the G1 finals, despite your disdain for the tag team matches, a lot of these tag team matches had a point to build matches for the latter half of this year. With the numerous shows that are going to be happening, you got to set up a lot of title matches for those shows.
So don't do that to me. You are not Stephen A. Smith. You're not going to do that to me. No, absolutely not. You're not going to do that to me. One show does not make an entire tournament. Okay? One show does not make an entire tournament. Don't you dare try to spin this on me. They wasted 3 weeks of a tournament with all these goddamn tag team matches with one night setting up in a whole bunch of the next 3 months. No, absolutely not.
You love to see it. You love to see it.
Absolutely not. This is ridiculous. But anyways, love to see Kushida back where he belongs. For God's sakes, never go back to the States again, Kushida. Never go back to the States.
You're gonna have people in the chat like, I think Kushida should go back to WWE because Triple H did such a great job booking him. He wasn't on a takeover for a year and a half after signing with the company.
Anyways, man, lovingly, we have renamed him and recoined him Kush the God. He is back in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, this was the match that was going to be made, him versus Taiji Ishimori. Do they give him the win right away, though? I don't know about that.
I think so. I think they should. I think he should win the title to set up the bigger matchup, which is him and Hiromu at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then finally, it's what the people came for. We got it. We saved the main event. We saved the best for last. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the finals. The G1 Climax 32 finals, as it was. Kazuchika Okada, the winner of the A block, versus the winner of the D block, Will Ospreay, the IWGP United States champion, the Rev Pro British Undisputed Heavyweight champion. And this one was special because Ospreay cut a fantastic promo. Forgot to mention that after his win in the semifinals against Tetsuya Naito. He also brought this up on social media that this man nearly died. This man nearly died from his kidney infection in May. He came back 2 weeks later. He came back better than ever, and he said he was going to fight. He was going to fight until he couldn't fight anymore, and he was going to beat Kazuchika Okada. He's versed him 7 times. He's gotten beaten 6 times. His one win was due to outside interference when Great-O-Khan first debuted and helped him in the 2020 G1 Climax tournament. So he said he was going to get this win on this night and that he was going to study all the men that have beaten him. He said Hiroshi Tanahashi has beaten him. He said AJ Styles has beaten him. He said the man he just beat, Tetsuya Naito, beat him. Switchblade Jay White had beat him. There was one name he forgot to mention, and that one name would be acknowledged. Acknowledge him. He would be acknowledged in this matchup. My Lord, 33 minutes, 53 seconds of some of the best professional wrestling you will see all year. This is the one match where I am gonna go a little bit and talk about a couple of these matches. So it started off with the lockup, some
Mhm.
kind of like chain wrestling early on.
Yeah.
Things head to the outside with Okada avoiding a plancha, instead landing his infamous DDT
DDT.
on the floor. Then a second one, as Okada was obviously targeting the taped neck and shoulder of Will Ospreay, doing so back in the ring with a straight jacket hold that forced Ospreay to the ropes. Shot to the neck buckles Ospreay's right leg before Okada took him to the corner, but a DDT out was countered into a suplex by Will Ospreay. Handspring enziguri from Ospreay puts him further ahead, as did a springboard forearm, better than phenomenal as he calls it. Ospreay lifts Okada up top and drops kicks him to the floor, then hits a ridiculous sky twister press off the top rope to the outside. Amazing stuff. Okada dead weight Ospreay, kind of playing possum as he comes back to haunt him though, as Ospreay is able to hit an Os cutter off the railings to stop any thoughts of a landslide tombstone on the outside. Now both guys had bad necks at that point. Back inside, Ospreay holds up Okada for a 2 count. Then before an elbow to the back of Okada's neck left him laying in the corner. He gets a cravat and keeps Okada down, but he breaks free to propel Ospreay with a back body drop off the ropes. Nice and lofty there too. A flapjack was next by Okada. Then he tried his luck with the money clip, tying up Ospreay before he was thrown off. But he gets a kind of like a Randy Orton-ish backbreaker using the money clip back onto there as they went in. This was like at the 15-minute marker, as this was like racing by basically at this point. Ospreay gets to the ropes but couldn't avoid a top rope elbow drop by Okada. Okada heads to the home stretch at this point. Then Ospreay backs Okada into the corner to break up a Rainmaker attempt. Okada's right back on him with right hands though. Then with an Irish whip that bounced Ospreay hard out of the corner pad, toying with Ospreay, just fires him up as he hits like the Kawada-ish kicks and chops. Saw Ospreay wearing Okada down at this point, whose last resort is like that shotgun drop kick, but Ospreay responds with that with a lariat. Then Ospreay rolls Okada onto the apron and teases an apron power driver, but a back body drop sends Ospreay onto the apron before a landslide tombstone attempt. Ospreay reverses that into the hook kick, into the Os cutter off the buckles. We get a count out tease, but Okada's able to get back inside at 19, but Ospreay catches him with a springboard coast to coast drop kick at that point, flying forearm off the ropes to the back of Okada's neck again. Then he hits a third Os cutter for a great near fall. Ospreay adds to that with a super kick, but Okada slips out of the Stormbreaker and hits a short arm lariat. He hits a second one, followed by dropping Ospreay, and then he teases for the Rainmaker, but Ospreay is able to block that. Another drop kick shuts off Ospreay, then another one to swat away the Os cutter in midair with that drop kick. That was one of the best drop kicks I've seen from Okada in a while. Then he hits a spinning tombstone. Ospreay elbows his way out of the Rainmaker, and then he adds the Chelsea Grin. Yet another drop kick though cuts off the hidden blade. Ospreay adds his new cross leg tombstone that he hit on Naito the day prior with it for a near fall. Finally, he hits the hidden blade for a near fall. Then Ospreay digs into some of the playbooks here that he was talking about the previous night. He goes to the top rope, hits the high fly flow for a great near fall. Next, he hits up AJ Styles for the Styles Clash for a near fall. Then he puts up the gun, J-News. He puts up the gun, and you can hear the crowd. They are crowd that is not supposed to make any noise go, ooh. V trigger. He hits the V trigger. He gets him up on the shoulders for the One Ring Angel, but Okada's able to slip out. He hits the landslide tombstone and then follows up with the Rainmaker. 1, 2, kick out. this was at the point, J-News,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, Ospreay might win this. Ospreay might be kicked out of the Rainmaker. So we get this nice little like struggle between the two guys as Okada's trying to get his arm for the ripcord for the Rainmaker again. But when he goes for the Rainmaker, Ospreay counters into a standing Spanish fly. Both men are on their knees. They're throwing right hands at each other, then elbows. Okada crumbled into a heap at one of Ospreay's elbows. Okada's back up to fire off some more elbows of his own, but he eats a hook kick. Ospreay then teases a Stormbreaker, but Okada counters into a neck breaker slam. Ospreay shrugs it off, but he then Okada's able to hit an Enziguri to the back of the head. Then he gets Ospreay fights out of the Cobra Flosion. He hits a pop-up forearm. He tallies up for the hidden blade again, but that's countered into the Cobra Flosion. And then one more Rainmaker for the victory as Okada has won back-to-back G1s for the first time. His 4th overall. My Lord. This was when I texted you, J-News, and I said, match of the year. I needed a cigarette after that matchup. I need a cigarette right now recapping this matchup. And you know what I'm about to say.
Amen.
5 motherfucking stars. That is the match of the year. I don't think anything is going to beat that now. I said this after their classic at Wrestle Kingdom this year. I said this after FTR and the Briscoes won. I said this after FTR and the Briscoes too. But we are late into the year. We're in August now. I don't see anything topping what this meant, because this had you on the edge of your seat, especially that final finishing sequence. The final 5 minutes of this match has some of the best near falls, some of the best selling, some of the best storytelling that I have seen throughout professional wrestling. Just superb stuff. The match of the year between two of the best wrestlers in the world. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he came out this morning. He gave it 5 3/4 stars.
That's right. Absolutely.
J-News, what did you think?
I'm not going to piss on anybody's dream here. This is the match of the year. By all stretch, accounts, intents, and purposes. There's nothing that I can say that SP3 hasn't said already. But I'll say this, and I'll reiterate the point that I made earlier. Sometimes the best storytelling in professional wrestling happens between the ropes during the match. It doesn't have to happen on a microphone. It doesn't have to happen in a vignette. There isn't much of this character building stuff. Now we have it where Okada wins this match. Where does Ospreay go from here is now the story, right? Now that becomes a story. Now, does Okada go one-on-one versus the Switchblade Jay White at Wrestle Kingdom 17? I think that might be the match to go for, but don't know, because the Booker man might think something else at the end of the day. So we'll see how this all goes. Chase Oliver states this is his match of the year. He's about to watch it for the 4th time during his lunch break. Good on you, Chase. Keep on watching that match. This match was one for the record books. Romeo, where art thou, Romeo?
He's a hater. He's such a hater. He's such a hater. Results matter. Deflating feeling. That's yours. Say my deflating feeling. Don't say it's a deflating feeling for everybody, because it's not.
Own it.
Say
own it.
You got to own that. You got to own that. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the actual match. It takes away from your enjoyment of the actual match, because I honestly told everybody after Ospreay beat Naito, I was like, I think Ospreay is going to win. But that's what made the finishing sequence that much more compelling, because I thought that Ospreay could actually win, but Okada winning does not give me a deflating feeling at all. I love this match. Love this match in every way.
Because the struggle felt so real throughout the match, right? Will trying to will himself to beat Okada. It wasn't just him countering maneuvers and slipping out of stuff. No. Will was trying to force everything in hand. He did all the different maneuvers from all these other wrestlers. When I saw him, first of all, I get it. They had to call it the high fly flow. That looked more like a 5-star frog splash to me. But hey, for all intents and purposes, we'll leave it at the high fly flow, right? He hit the Styles Clash. At one point, right, when he was when Okada went for that Cobra fusion, whatever, the Cobra fusion, I thought Okada was fitting to hit Valencia on freaking Ospreay. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I was like, what's going on? This shit is crazy. He's gonna hit Valencia. He didn't hit Valencia. But anyways, regardless of the fact, we still got all that. And then when he set up, because look, timing is everything in a match, right? They didn't use rest holds. They used small rest periods, right? They were both sitting. They would be sitting at one end or against the barricades and stuff like that, or whatever cases. Will Ospreay kept on looking back at Okada. Okada was hanging out in that second rope. He looked back at Okada again, hanging out in the second rope, and then he points the finger, he shoots it off, and then boom, hits the V trigger. Right there. When he hit the V trigger, I was like, he wouldn't. He wouldn't do that. That's not what he's doing.
You heard the crowd. The crowd knew he was gonna go for it. They were like, dude, and he gets him up for the 1 week angel. And I love Kevin Kelly, not to interrupt you, but I love Kevin Kelly getting it over at the end of the match that the only move he didn't hit was the 1 week angel. If he would have hit the 1 week angel, then he probably could have beaten Okada, because not only does that add to the story of Okada and Ospreay and Ospreay's story individually, it adds to this whole Omega Ospreay feud that's been like this cloud that they've been talking about that they don't want to really talk about, that he's taken Omega's spot as the number one gaijin, and now that elevates it even more to the point coming out of this. I'm like, you got to give me Ospreay and Omega at Wrestle Kingdom now. Like, that's the match I want.
We got to get that. But to your point, SP3, and John Jay made a good point here. As John Jay made it. He said, do you think they're waiting to give Ospreay the big win over Okada until he's a babyface? He's been acting a lot more that way the past few weeks, including his post on Twitter, far less arrogant. So the story for Will Ospreay in the G1 has been more or less the humbling of Will Ospreay, in the sense of he started out strong, lost 2 matches he didn't think he was going to lose, and then had to come back to win the block. Now that humbled him. That put him in this hyper-focused mode where he said to himself, his first match versus Naito one-on-one ever, beats Naito, then again facing off Okada for the 7th time, this time around using the playbook, watching the film, saying to himself, I'm going to use what I need to use from all these men who have beaten Okada before, to no avail. Now, the black cloud in the room. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. When are we going to get this match? We alluded to this, I think, during one of the last recordings we were talking about. If they would give us a little sample of Ospreay versus Okada in this trios tag team tournament that's going on over on AEW. I said no. I said absolutely not. They're not going to do this in a tag situation. But I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong here, because watching Kenny Omega at, I'd say 75% perform on Wednesday night at Dynamite, 75% of Kenny Omega is still better than 100% of a lot of professional wrestlers in the business today. So that being said, I can't wait to see what we can get Ospreay versus Omega. To John Jay's point, is Will gonna go babyface?
I feel like this tournament turned him babyface.
So then, I mean, for all intents and purposes, everyone loves the Great O'Khan now. He's such a character. Dude, the dude is probably the most. I don't even know what to call him, man. You can't call him misogynistic because he loves the ladies, but at the same time, it's like, bruh, like. He's a hero. I don't know. And Jeff Cobb. damn, I can't wait to see Aussie Open do their freaking thing in this trios tag. They are now the strong tag team champions. Big ups to Aussie Open there. So 5-star match with a John Cena Roman Reigns ending. Screw you, Romeo. Screw you.
I didn't even have to say it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Screw
you.
Romeo.
This is hating 101. This man is a pure, unadulterated hater. He drinks haterade like coffee in the morning. He just wakes up and drinks his haterade.
Yeah.
We got Chase Oliver who says, I'm not the biggest Ospreay guy, but I am a huge Okada fan, and even if Okada lost, this match would still be the match of the year. Both guys had a great story and a great reason to win.
Oh man, that's and Chase Oliver followed up. He said, maybe off topic here, but do you think that building towards Will Ospreay versus Pac? Now, we got that match almost 2 years ago now, at a Ref Pro show, and it was cut short. It was a draw. It was no one got the win there. These two guys are probably two of the best high flyers in the last decade, outside of Ricochet, and other guys in the business. But to see the bastard versus Will Ospreay is always going to be something that I would want to watch. Would they do it for the Atlantic Championship? Maybe give Will another belt to hold. I don't know necessarily. Would I love to see it? Sure. But that's got to be on a big stage. That can't be, maybe it can be Will and Pac at Ref Pro, maybe, but like I would rather see it on Dynamite or maybe like one of the pay-per-views or whatever, or the what is it, the Night of Champions, whatever thing that they do on TBS,
Battle of the Belts,
Battle of the Belts, yeah, maybe one of those or whatever. So they'll figure it out. But I would love to watch that match. Sidebar, but to keep on talking about this main event, man, Will Ospreay, man, bruh, listen, much props to you, man. There's nothing else I can say. For me, he's the best wrestler in the business right now. For me. For my take,
this is like I always say, like when we talk about when people talk about the FTR Young Bucks, who's the best tag team in the world, I always say it's an ever flowing argument. It's fluid. It's fluid. Like when when FTR had that week where they had the match with the Briscoes and the match with the Young Bucks, I was like, they're now the best tag team in the world. Then when the Young Bucks responded with that matchup against the Lucha Bros on Rampage in California, I was like, the Young Bucks took the crown back. Now FTR had that matchup with the Briscoes last month at Death Before Dishonor. They got the crown back. Now the Young Bucks have to get their crown back, but they're more focused on trios action. So FTR are the best tag team in the world. And I think it's the same with best wrestler in the world, because last year, Kenny Omega had it for much of the year, despite Will Ospreay having a bunch of great matches.
Year.
Okada had a bunch of great matches. But towards like the end of the year, it felt like Bryan Danielson took that crown back with that stretch that he had coming over from WWE to AEW. But this year that Ospreay has had, like in the ring, I don't think there's anyone better. I think the only thing that's going to stop him from winning the 2022 Wrestler of the Year is his platform, because he is in New Japan. I think someone like a Jon Moxley may beat him out for it, because Moxley has the more high-profile platform, and he's had a tremendous year of in-ring classic. But Ospreay's had the match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. He had the 5-star matchup with Michael Oku in Red Pro. He had great matches with Blake Christian and Brian Cage in Warrior Wrestling. He had the matchup against Orange Cassidy at Forbidden Door. The match against Dax Harwood on AEW Dynamite. He had the match with Moxley at Windy City Riot. The 4-way at Capital Collision. He had 2 of the best matches I saw this year with Shingo Takagi, and this one with Kazuchika Okada in the G1 Climax. When it comes to in-ring, just purely in-ring performer, there's no one better than Will Ospreay right now.
I can't disagree, brother. And this is in between him having a damn near death experience with a kidney infection. Like, let's put this in perspective here, guys. Like, People don't give Will enough credit for his promo work. They think he's a jerk half the time, or is this real? Is this not? That's the good thing. You don't know. So Will Ospreay's playing you exactly the way he should be. I think Will Ospreay is definitely underrated when it comes to his promo work. So what he was able to build just off of the promo that he did after the semis, just to get into the finals with Okada, that was crazy. What the man? Throw this crap on my goddamn screen.
No, the match with Nick Wayne was really good. That was one of my favorite GCW.
It threw me off
matches of the
freaking
year.
dragon thing. It just threw me off.
And Chase Oliver kind of agreeing with me, saying I think Moxley might steal it from Will Ospreay. I think the only thing that with Ospreay, I would say Ospreay has the better, he's had more 5-star perfect great matches than Moxley, but Moxley just feels like the wrestler of the year. He has that aura to him. I think he would have to significantly go down after whatever happens with this undisputed AEW title situation. He would have to significantly go down after that for Ospreay to kind of get ahead of him. I have it's very close between these two guys at this point for me. I think that Moxley just has the platform and the promos that gives him the edge over Ospreay right now.
Sure. I mean, I can't necessarily negate that from a platform perspective, but I'm giving it to Will. He's running away with it. No love lost for Jon Moxley. I think Mox has done a tremendous job since he got to AEW, not just this year, but since he got to AEW. So, with everything that's been going on there as well, man, we'll see how Will's year ends up. But it's going in the right direction, I feel. We'll see what so correct me if I'm wrong. His trios match is next Wednesday, right? Him and Aussie. Okay.
Him and Aussie Open. This man has a ridiculous schedule because he's been on these past 3 shows for New Japan. I think today he's probably flying out here to the UK. Yeah. He's going to be on Rev Pro tomorrow against guess who? Guess who he's versing on Rev Pro tomorrow? Which is probably going to be another 5-star near it. J-News.
Who's he got tomorrow?
Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
he's versing the other guy who's had the best matches on the independent scene in Speedball Mike Bailey tomorrow on Rev Pro. And then he has another match with Ricky Knight Jr. on Sunday for Rev Pro.
Good on Ricky Knight. Cause he's really an aspiring talent. That dude he's part of that Knight family. He's the son of one of Soraya's brothers. So good on him. News came down yesterday. I wanted to get your take on this. News came down yesterday of a lot of releases from a lot of the UK talent from NXT UK. Quick bit. How do you feel the Brit Rest scene is going to be impacted by this going forward?
I think a place like Rev Pro should take advantage because I've been to a Rev Pro show since I've been out here. Honestly, my missus is probably going to ask me again today if I want to go to the Sunday show because I can't go tomorrow due to the timing with True Hill Heat 5-year anniversary. Because I honestly, when I found out Speedball versus Ospreay was tomorrow, I was like, damn, how can I do this if the show starts at 5:30 and I do my show at 4? How can I or do I want to take a 2-hour car trip just to see the main event? I was thinking about it. I've honestly been thinking about it. I'll still think about it later today, but maybe I don't know if I might go to the Sunday show just to see Ospreay live again. But as far as the Brit wrestling scene, I think a place like Rev Pro is going to take advantage of that because they're not in that lexicon of the Progress WXW that's been helping this NXT UK situation. So someone like Trent Seven, that was the biggest surprise. I was like, how do you do that after you just split him and Tyler Bate? Why don't you continue that story in NXT proper? Because they still have that history of being former NXT tag team champions where you can just do the video package of what happened on NXT UK and transition that feud to NXT 2.0. And that would honestly give us some great matches between those two, and now we're not even going to complete that story. So that was the mind-boggling one for me. But guys like Dave Mastiff, Mandrews, Flash Morgan Webster, I can't wait to see them back on the independent scene, because these are all great guys. And I think the Brit wrestling scene might be getting an injection due to these releases.
Word,
But
man.
but WWE might come back again with this NXT Europe and
thing,
put a
yeah.
smosh to that again.
It's just one of those things where I think it could have been done for branding purposes, right? They were released from the NXT UK brand proper, and then they'll get re-signed to NXT Europe proper when it starts up next year. But these guys won't be hard for. I don't think. My personal opinion, I don't think these guys are going to be hard up for work. The independent Brit wrestling scene does need that infusion of stars and talent, and these guys and girls who were just released yesterday are definitely that. They did keep some auspicious names that I was a little bit like, okay, so they kept this person, they kept that person. I was like, all right, well, we'll see what they do from an NXT perspective. After Heat Wave, we saw Tyler Bate and B Priestley and some other talents there show up on NXT proper.
Gallus.
So yeah, the guys, yes, the Gallus boys, they showed up there. So we'll see how. Yeah, man, John Jay, that Millie McKenzie fucking that shit blew me.
Yeah,
son.
that was a shocker too, because she's young.
Yeah,
she's
man.
young as hell. I thought they would definitely keep her.
Yeah, man. I was like, man, they kept the Leah James, but they didn't keep Millie McKenzie. I was like, that's just weird. No shade on Leah James. I'm actually a fan of hers and whatnot. I've watched a lot of her independent stuff, but I thought they would have kept Millie. So just surprising, just definitely surprising.
It seemed like she was the one they were kind of, honing on to or developing to kind of be the one to dethrone Mako. So that's what made it very weird. And we still don't know what's going to happen with Mako, because she's been kind of quiet and she wasn't on NXT 2.0 this week.
But she wasn't released either. She wasn't released either. So that's and to make a comment about what was going on in commentary during the main event yesterday, they kept on mentioning that Okada was the final boss to Will Ospreay. I don't like that term being thrown around all willy-nilly. The final boss is the WWE UK Women's Champion. She's always been that.
She moved on. She went to corporate land, so she's not the final boss anymore. The new final boss is Kazuchika Okada. I think we got a little out of hand in our praising of Ospreay. No, not out of hand, but we went a little bit hand with the Ospreay praising. Okada deserves some praise too, because this man is I would say the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time. I'm at that point. That point.
So to piggyback off of that, from a history standpoint, he's got to win one more G1, at least a Tai Chono, right? So I'm not too sure if they'll do it next year. Kaz is still relatively young, so he's 33, so it's not like he's on the back end of his career or whatever. So my book,
I put it out on social media, and I got a lot of feedback. The Romeo thinking people of the world that were disappointed that Okada won and disappointed that Ospreay didn't win. I said Ospreay needs to get this big victory over Okada when it matters the most, and the only thing bigger than the G1 finals is Wrestle Kingdom. So what I think is that Okada is going to defeat Switchblade, and maybe he goes on another long run. We get a full year of Okada as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and at Wrestle Kingdom 18 in 2024, we get it next year. Ospreay wins the G1 Climax 33 tournament. Maybe he beats Shingo in the finals, because they would kill that if they had the final spot. And then we get Ospreay, Okada at the Dome in the main event. Ospreay as the challenger for Okada, and that's where he finally gets the win, and he becomes the man in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. The long form storytelling works, man. It just does. So I'm with that. I'm with that.
In a lot of ways, this loss for Ospreay felt like the loss that Okada did to Hiroshi Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 9, where they're built this loss and this kind of like crushing loss when he thought he was going to win so much, it makes it bigger for when he eventually does get the win. Like when Okada beat Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 10, it felt like the passing of the torch. I think that when Ospreay beats Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 18 for the championship, that's the official. Now Okada's like, I'm done here. Here's the torch.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Romeo here talking about that makes too much sense, so it won't happen. You don't watch enough New Japan, son.
Exactly. When it makes sense, New Japan usually does it.
That means Gato does it, brother.
It ain't Romeo. He does a lot of
WWE,
watch-alongs of WWE, to be fair. So I understand. And he watches a lot of AEW's women's division where nothing makes sense. So I understand. Romeo, your pessimism.
Listen, he's out here talking about I mean, look, John Jay, you're absolutely right. He's the best Japanese wrestler of his generation. There's no doubt about that. I don't have any doubt about that. Yeah, man, look at the matches he was having 10 years ago at the age of 24, let alone what he does now. Like I said just a few minutes ago, I think they tie him with Chono eventually within the next couple of years, winning another G1 to win his 5th, just to have him up there, because for a long period of time, it has just been Masahiro Chono as the best Japanese wrestler of the last 20 years. And now Okada has stepped in, done what he's done. This generation of guys has taken New Japan to another level. So, big props to him. So eventually when he gets there, or if they make him win more than that, then it is what it is, and how that works out. But yeah, man. Okay, yeah. Chase Oliver says that it's still his favorite promo from Wrestle Kingdom 9. Okada, you're the next in line, but you're not the ace yet. I mean, he's the ace. He's been the ace. They've been calling Tanahashi the ace for the last 3 years, and Tanahashi hasn't been the ace for the last 3 years. He just hasn't been. We love Tana.
It's been Okada.
Yeah,
it's been Okada since he beat him at Wrestle Kingdom 10 in 2016. So.
Exactly. So it's Okada's been the ace for a while now. Then the name's got to transfer over at some point. So we'll go from there.
So J-News, just to put a bow on our coverage of the G1 Climax 32 tournament, who do you give the LVP, and who were some of the people in the G1 Climax 32 tournament overall you think their stock went down?
LVP. If I'm being fair about how the tournament broke down, LVP for me isn't like one of the guys who didn't have that many wins or whatever the case is. I think, I don't know, man. It was Ishii until he won his match with Sonata. That on that final block night for me in that regard. But like now it's like I'm not sure if I don't know, Aaron Hanare. Let me put it there, right? Just to be let me
I think Hanare was okay because this was his first G1 and he only got one win, but the win mattered. It was against Tanahashi.
It mattered, but like they gave him all his like menacing spots in tag matches where he was putting the Ultima on the freaking full Nelson on dude during tag matches, and they were building that up during tag matches. And then when he would do his block matches, that one win was the only win that he got, and he didn't really do much. So if I'm gonna go with an LVP, I'll go with Aaron Hanare in that sense. I know he'll be back, so we'll see as to what he does in future G1 tournaments. But for now, that LVP is Aaron Hanare. I mean, will be Aaron Hanare. As for standouts, Jonah.
Well, no, who would you say? Anyone else you think their stock went down? G1.
Yeah. I mean, I just mentioned them before. Ishii. That's tough for me to say and swallow at this point. But I think Ishii's stock went down. Obviously, my man Sonata, his stock went down as well. Let me see if I can think about anybody else. Stock went down. No, I don't
I think
count battle. Yeah,
those
I
are
don't.
fair.
Huh?
Those are fair ones.
Those are, yeah, because
I
I don't count Fale. I don't count Fale. I don't count Chase Owens. It's like they just don't count for you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying. So
I totally agree. Sonata, like I said before, his stock went down in the G1. Tomohiro Ishii, I expected him to do a little bit better than he did, so I would definitely put him. But LVP is most definitely evil. I'm sorry,
okay, all right.
evil. Oh my god, evil. Oh yes, the Juice as well. His stock went down as well because I thought he would do much better after the heel turn and joining the Bullet Club. We got Chase Oliver, who also says some of my timeline said Sonata's stock went down from this G1. Most definitely. But the LVP is evil because he's evil and House of Torture bullshit. I'm over it. I'm just over it. And Romeo says LVP J-News for picking Sonata to win his block.
Everybody's wrong every now and then. At the end of the day,
You're wrong every time. Every time we do this,
because I want new. Because I need new stuff to happen. I need new
you picked
stuff
him for last year's G1. You picked him for the New Japan Cup. You picked him for this G1.
Still fake. So now it's my favorite. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
You never cease to amaze me.
Dang,
MVP of the tournament.
Who?
And whose stock went up?
So I'll go with whose stock went up first. So whose stock went up? We're talking about young David Finlay. That man's stock went up. We're talking 100%. About the real good bad guy. That man, Tama. That man's stock went up. Jonah's stock went up
tremendously.
Jonah's stock went up. And finally, for me, man whose stock went up, necessary in this tournament, Yoshihashi, man, brother, I'll give it to you, man. You gave us some bangers during this goddamn G1. All praise to you, man. Yoshihashi, definitely my last pick for standouts in this tournament. As for the MVP, well, I'll say this. I'm going to stick with the United Empire here. All right. Even though he lost in the finals, Will Ospreay, for me, is the MVP of this tournament. For how he started, the losses he took, to then come back and do what he did to be able to get into the finals and then put on this masterful main event at the G1. Will Ospreay is my MVP of the G1 tournament. What about you, SP3? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think I could say it any better than that. Yoshihashi, most definitely. El Phantasmo is one that you didn't mention that I would definitely say his stock went up. David Finlay, man, that run, that 3-match winning streak, Shingo, Juice, and Ospreay, that was amazing. Definitely went up. Jonah beating Kazuchika Okada, and I gotta go co-MVP because, like I said, I love Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay had probably 3 of the top 5 best matches of this tournament. The semifinals with Naito, the aforementioned match on night 12 against Shingo Takagi, and then the main event, the finals against Kazuchika Okada. But I also gotta give love to the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker put up he had three banger ass matches in this tournament. The first night with Jonah, his matchup with the first night with Jeff Cobb, the match with Jonah's big upset, and then the finals against Will Ospreay. Kazuchika Okada deserves some love as well. So I will go co-MVP, Okada and Ospreay.
Yeah, man. I can't disagree with the co-MVP thing. But Kaz gets too much love to begin with, so let's stop making it rain over there.
And I know that's gonna piss some people off, so that's why
it is. No, look, I've never been a freaking Okada hater. The man's one of the best professional wrestlers to ever step foot in the ring. That's legit spit, right? I mentioned this last week during one of the during the live stream that I was doing with freaking Romeo and Chase and whatnot, where I myself feel like FTR, the tag team of FTR, is probably, for me, is the best tag team in professional wrestling history. Period. End of story for me. Just because of what they've been able to do in the last couple of years, and the matches that they put together, and things of that nature. But Kazuchika Okada, man, listen, man, he's made history. He's in the books. He'll get love from me. John J.
Yeah, what was your best moment, real quick, J-News? What was the best moment for me was Jonah's win over Okada, because I legitimately I'd be watching these in the morning and I'm still like in my bed watching them, and I literally leaped up when Jonah beat Okada because I watched that one live.
So for me, because of my ties to it, I would say Tama Tonga's win over Jay White was definitely a moment for me. John Jay said also made a comment about ZSJ's meltdown. That was comedy. that was a good moment.
That was comedy gold. Well. Comedy gold.
But for me, man,
best comedy match of the tournament was Tom Lawler versus Toriano. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, man,
that was great. That was great.
But yeah, man, Tama getting that win over Jay White, that sealed it for me there, man. That sealed it for me there.
All right, so that is all for our G1 Climax 32 Finals Roundtable review. I want to thank the good brother J-News for going on this journey the last 2 hours, putting a bow on our coverage of the G1 Climax 32 tournament. We've done a lot of good work over on patreon.com/True Hill Heat. So if you want full reviews of any of the nights of the G1 Climax, if you want to pick and choose which matches you need to watch, that is the best place to do it. Go over and check out all the reviews that we did this past week. We put up nights 16 and 17. That's up from J-News reviewing that. But J-News, let the people know where they can find you on social media, what you'll be doing next on patreon.com/True Hill Heat, True Hill Heat Sports. You've been on that channel more than me. You've been doing a lot of work.
In the words of Romeo, I'll give him this. I've been doing the Lord's work lately. So it's what it is. Find me on the Instagram _JONJY on the Instagrams whenever the hell I decide to post. It is what it is there. So that's that. So whatever New Japan stuff comes down our pike in the near future, I'll be covering it, because I am not just J-News, I am J-News Japan. This is where people come to get their New Japan pro wrestling news. They get it from me. So at the end of the day, or SP3, to be quite honest, my tag team partner in this whole goddamn month's worth of tournament, we got it done, folks. We got it done. So yeah, also catch me on the Patreon. Catch me on True Hill Heat Sports. Like SP3 said, I've been on there more than he has. People really seem to dig our baseball coverage on True Hill Heat Sports. So thank you for everybody who's been watching and participating with that as well. I was on last Saturday for the boxing match that was on ESPN. So I'll be doing some of the boxing stuff as well. They're with the guys, and once basketball season starts, I'm gonna be all over everyone's asses as one of the biggest Knicks fans you'll ever meet. Me and SP3 will be going at it with him and his Laker loving ass. So,
I will. We're gonna have to do one soon, another NBA podcast, because my man LeBron just signed a 2-year deal.
2-year deal.
We're about to get this cooking trade off Russell Westbrook now that LeBron's sealed up. Ship him out, ship him home. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Hill SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at True Hill Heat. ProWrestlingTees.com/True Hills for any True Hill Heat merchandise. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to True Hill Heat Sports. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. Also on patreon.com/True Hill Heat. We got, like I said before, the G1 Climax 32 nights 16 and 17 review by the good brother J-News. This weekend, Sunday to be exact, Romeo will be hosting our WWF In Your House Mind Games watch along for True Rewind. So you can watch along as he's going to be watching WWF In Your House Mind Games with Shawn Michaels versus Mankind, that classic matchup. And speaking of True Rewind, right now you can jump on over to Fightful Overbooked, as True Rewind 82 is now available on demand. 6, with the debut of Sean Waltman in WCW, joining the NWO, the fallout from WCW Fall Brawl 1996, the Go Home Show, the WWF In Your House Mind Games. Me and Romeo review that over on True Rewind 82. Yesterday, I was here on the YouTube channel with the good brother Jimmy Macaram to review AEW Dynamite from Wednesday, August 17th, with the return of Kenny Omega, with the heated promo exchange between CM Punk and Jon Moxley, the classic between Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. So check out AE Ramble number 56 on demand right here. Also, we had Blunt Impact 90 hosted by Romeo with special guest Bad Blood from bodyslam.net. Also, like J-News said, True Hill Heat Sports, that's the go-to place for all sports coverage. We had True Hill Heat Sports number 16 last night with the NFC North preview, and this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we might see J-News, maybe True Hill Heat Sports 17 with the next boxing showdown, Rage on the Red Sea, and also 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we got UFC 278 with Usman versus Edwards 2. So check all that great coverage out. And before any of that on True Hill Heat Sports, right here on the mothership, J-News, I hope you have like 10-15 minutes to join us tomorrow, because we're going live 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time for the 5-year anniversary of True Hill Heat. It's been 5 years since we started this podcast, and we are very happy to welcome everyone, all the subscribers, all the viewers. We're going to send a link to our Patreon backers so they can join us on screen, as we're going to be celebrating 5 years of True Hill Heat. We're going to be talking about the NXT UK close down, NXT Europe. We're going to be talking about this juicy backstage heat between CM Punk and Hangman Adam Page. CM Punk may be leaving AEW, Kenny Omega's return, plus much more. True Hill Heat 189 tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit about the G1. So that's why you are more than welcome to join us on that, J-News.
I'll be available for you folks tomorrow at around that time. So yeah, let's do it.
Bless your heart. But we got final comments here. We got Romeo saying fantastic work by both you during this tournament. Nobody covers it better. Thank you, good brother Romeo. And John J giving us the final word, saying thanks for a great show, guys. And we appreciate all of you for joining us. So for J-News, it is me, the new Meteor Forbidden Door SP3. And this is it. It's over. The G1 Climax 32 tournament is over. This has been our NJPW G1 Climax 32 Finals Roundtable review. We are signing off until next time.